recognizing opportunities is extremely important when you're doing placemaking. So this was an unfortunate opportunity, but nevertheless something that I think all cities are taking a very hard look at. Hurricane Sandy blasted through New York in 2012, and it was the second costliest storm in U.S. history, with damages totaling more than $65 billion. This is a picture from Lower Manhattan with one of the flooded underpasses, and I live and work in Lower Manhattan, so it was, I had a pretty up-close and personal experience with the storm. There was probably 5 feet of water in the building in the lobby of the building where our DOT offices were, and this is just sort of interesting from a disaster planning point of view, was we had the most secure offices with links to our traffic management center, ultimate security, very high technology to connect us, so in case there was some kind of a terrorist attack, which we had already experienced, so we prepared for that. There was an alternate command post, all of this, and what happened was the generators for the building were in the basement, and the water came in, and the power went out, and that was the end of that. I had 2,000 people who couldn't get to work, who couldn't occupy our offices for several months after that. And so this is a picture of the power outage in Lower Manhattan, which also had not happened this way before. Con Edison didn't seem to realize they were in a floodplain, and so the power went out below 34th Street. So this was and became an opportunity in many ways. And as the water receded, we shifted not only from rebuilding, but also to reinventing. Many local businesses, as you can imagine, in Lower Manhattan were struggling. And we were asked by the Downtown Business Association, which was the Alliance for Downtown New York, and local businesses to help to bring people and businesses back to the neighborhood. And one of the things that, since the Department of Transportation was overseeing all of the public space, we were asked to try to take a look at the streets and the places where people walked and went in and out of the buildings, to what could we do to make the area more hospitable and kind of more welcoming after this storm. So we used tools from our citywide plaza program. We devised ways to transform the streets and sidewalks, and identified elements that were already in use in other streetscape projects: lighting, seating, furniture, wayfinding signage, which we were introducing citywide. Used it as an opportunity to suggest planting additional trees from the Million Trees program. So we came up with a plan for the neighborhood, which was not just for a single place or a plaza, but for a whole district. And also to come up with an identity to help with liven up the neighborhood. There were lots of vacant storefronts, so this was a kind of branding and design opportunity that was district-wide. So I'd like to talk a little bit now about some of the work, the placemaking work that I'm doing. This is another shot of Water Street. Having to do with one of the not so great places in New York, which is Penn Station. And one of the things that my current organization does, the Municipal Art Society, is to work both on proposed planning and urban design schemes. When developers propose things, we often are commenting on them. We are asked to weigh in both to the city, to government officials. We are responsible often to communities and to other advocates. One of the projects that we feel is critically important is Penn Station. For those of you who don't know, Penn Station is a major transit center in New York City for trains coming in from New Jersey, from Long Island, and for just as a subway network. And there are 640,000 people that go through Penn Station every day. And this photo is what it looks like, and this is not a great place. It was one of the, my organization was key in working with the landmarks, or establishing the Landmarks Commission in New York City, and the landmarking law, which is coming up on its 50th anniversary, after Penn Station was demolished, which I don't have pictures of here, but some of you probably have seen. It was a kind of glorious train station that was demolished, and so this is what we have now, which is basically an underground space. And the area around Penn Station and Madison Square Garden is currently a kind of no person's land. As the busiest transit hub in the Western Hemisphere, it has more people going through it than Kennedy, LaGuardia, and Newark combined, and greater than the entire population of Denver, just to give you a scale of. So it's over capacity. The footprint of the station is, it's about 370,000 square feet, or 8.5 acres, less than the entire space for JFK Airport. So it's a frustrating experience. We think it's a crime against the city. It doesn't speak well for the city's sort of public spaces, and it's dangerous on top of everything else. Vincent Scully talked about this. He was an architectural historian. He described entering New York through Penn Station. One used to enter the city like a god. Now one scuttles in like a rat. So it's not really the kind of image that we want for the city. Just to give you a contrast, this is Grand Central Terminal, which was, we were very active in preserving with Jackie Onassis, who worked with a number of government officials to save this terminal. And it's proof that it's possible to bring together multiple dimensions and multiple uses in a train station, as we've seen all over the country. So this is a restaurant, an art venue, a market, a landmark. It's all of those things. And so obviously transit centers can serve that multiple purpose. So one of the things that we did was to focus on converting Penn Station into a 21st century train station. And this was both to improve the passenger experience and expand transit capacity. These were invited architects. We had an invitational and a group including H3, Shop, Diller, Scafidio, and Renfro, and SOM. We asked them to imagine what this train station could look like. And they had not only envisioned a train station, but all the new types of activities that could go on in there, as in terms of places to exercise while you wait, places to travel, to plan your trips. It really was, the sky was really the limit. It was really a fascinating group of proposals. So what we realized from this is there was a recognition that the interior of Penn Station could perform these multiple functions and be a successful place. There were both to improve the passenger experience, but to just acknowledge that placemaking is a really smart investment for cities. So we're now embarking on the next phase of this, which is really to begin advocating for the city to improve both the district and the train station itself. And one of the ways that there's been some very surprising things that have come out of our work in looking at the district. It's more than just a transit hub. It's an anchor to the west side of Manhattan and a gateway to the rest of the city. So there is also a new development coming online, which is at the river, called Hudson Yards, which, if you're following development in New York City, is an enormous development built over the tracks near the river. So there's a kind of blank area, I would say undeveloped area between Hudson Yards and Penn Station. So Grimshaw Architects has been working with us with a group called Future Cities, and they're a placemaking consultancy group based in London. They've been doing field assessments and surveys of the area around Penn Station. And it's really surprising some of the things that we uncovered. So this is these are photos of the area around Penn Station, showing all of the different small businesses that exist there, and the various types of, there's performance spaces, there's art going on, there's a music business, and there's also, it borders on the garment center and the garment district, which has been shrinking, but still has a very vibrant business community there. So these are, again, photos of storefronts that are in that neighborhood. And there are also some cultural amenities. Who knew there was a Houdini museum? We all were very surprised to find out about that, but we all went and visited. So there actually are, there's the basis for a kind of cultural district that actually no one knew was there. So the interesting thing that happened next was to begin mapping all of these findings and to show how these assets can translate into the physical realm. There's the garment, the arts organizations, design services, there are educational facilities, and still quite a number of manufacturing and fabrication businesses. So what's important as we begin to develop this area and look at development plans for it, by the way, let's see, oh yeah, this is Penn Station and Madison Square Garden. Let's see, this is the Farley Post Office, which half of which is being turned into part of a train station for Amtrak. And then the other gray building is the Morgan Postal Facility, which we're looking at as an alternative site for a new arena to move Madison Square Garden off of Penn Station so that you can develop the train station more fully. But the idea is to look at the entire district, not just as a city planning exercise and a zoning exercise, but to look at all of the existing fabric of the city, including I don't have it here as part of this presentation, but we've done a study of buildings that have historic value so that preservation becomes an important part of placemaking, of setting pedestrian routes through here, looking at crosstown routes. 30th Street and 31st Street look like really good opportunities for connecting, literally connecting the dots. So the next step would be, let me go back to this again, to translate some of this into some distinctive street design, signage, wayfinding, special events, and then also the land use rules and regulations which go along to planning a larger district to consolidate the sense of place through zoning bonuses, transferable air rights, special district designations to prioritize these types of creative industries. Someone asked at the end of Richard's presentation, how do you make these changes? And I thought that was such a great question because really for many of our both urban areas and even our suburban areas, they are built. Somebody built them. We've invested billions of dollars, 50, 60, 70 years worth of construction and thinking about them. And so and not only that, we've planned our transportation systems around getting people from point A to point B. So how you make those changes it's a very, very complicated thing to do. So I think that we all need some serious fortitude to do that. But I think the vision is incredibly important, and I think everyone in this room, we've seen some amazing stuff today. So I think that vision and leadership is really critical to kind of rethinking what we have. There's not really room necessarily to, you don't want to be building whole new places, taking away more open land, more trees, more farmland. You really want to consolidate what you have. So it's rethinking things kind of block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood, to the degree that you can. So I'd like to close by just saying that there are opportunities everywhere, easing traffic congestion, you solve certain problems, rebuilding after a devastating storm, updating an outmoded train station. Those are all urban challenges that they present opportunities to transform a city for years to come. And I was reading this morning, I just happened to see over breakfast, there was an editorial by Russell Shorto, who is a very favorite writer of mine, and he wrote a book called The Island at the Center of the World, I think I have that title right, about New York's history. And his editorial, his op-ed piece was about the source of New York's greatness. And I'm just going to read a short piece of it because I think it's sort of relevant to what we're talking about. Today, actually, he wrote it because today is New York's 350-year birthday. And it's not actual birthday. It was the day the English soldiers took control of the Dutch-occupied New Amsterdam and renamed it after the Duke of York, hence New York. And so the Dutch were famous for maintaining a balance between the individual and the collective, because they realized there was a necessity for them because of the water management issues that obviously plagued their native country. And with climate change, the rest of us are all in the same place today, and I'm quoting Russell Shorto. We don't just need to rebuild infrastructure, we need to embrace concepts like regional planning, to acknowledge there are issues in which individual and even municipal autonomy have to be sacrificed to the greater good. Racial and religious tensions are at an all-time high at home and abroad. The anniversary of New York's birth, or rechristening, is an occasion to recall that tolerance of differences and an enlightened blend of individualism and collectivism formed a new kind of society. We would do well to recommit ourselves to the notion that such a blend of forces is still the best way forward. So, with that, I thank you.
I think we have time for just a couple questions, if anyone has some.
Given the issues that are surrounding the Calatrava, the subway station down by the World Trade Center, is there less of an appetite to do the Penn station, or is that a whole separate thing that's got its own